Okay, hopefully we're back. Hopefully my audio is also in the right spot. One of you guys please talk. Please.
I don't see it just
Please.
yet.
Hi.
Yeah,
Okay, good. All right, it's there.
Are we there?
Yeah,
Are we
we're
on?
all here. We're good. It looks like we're set up. I apologize.
Okay,
I
there
don't
we
know what happened, but I think my computer just decided it didn't want to exist on this planet anymore. So I just had to restart the whole thing. So my apologies. We're over here now. If you want to let anybody who was still in that live chat to come on over here, or people who are watching who are friends, just share and get it out so people know that we're here. Sorry, we're back.
We're back.
You guys
So
let me know if you hear a ton of noise because there's a gardener blowing stuff around.
I only hear it when you talk, so it's all good.
Okay, cool.
I don't know.
It's slight.
Wow, so we got, okay, so everyone's kind of coming back. Should we wait, well, I guess we can just kind of start.
Yeah, we basically what where we were at was that it's people can easily take advantage when a movement allows people to get away with when your ends justify the means and don't hold people accountable when they get taken advantage of or when things go south. You saw the same kind of thing happen with the more toxic side of trans community Twitter, where obviously not all trans people, obviously not, this is not the case, but there's a specific group, a pocket, that were defending Jessica Yaniv, who was clearly taking advantage to be very, very inappropriate and sort of using them as a shield. And I think that's what we were getting at with Amber, is that she's using victims to shield herself from taking accountability of her own behavior, which some of the people she's using as a shield have been victims of in the past. Kawasa, I know you did a super chat and Tina joined, so thank you, Tina, for joining. And Kawasa, if you could type in the chat what your super chat was, just so I can read it, because I have to go find it now, and that's going to be a thing. So if you can just tell me what you of I'll make sure to read it out. But I know we were kind of going to start moving on because we kind of got interrupted. My bad. Yeah. With some of Amber's just outlandish behavior. So I think Carmen wanted to take the lead on that.
And the movement and the way she used it protected her from questions that you would normally have. Like you weren't even it was uncomfortable to even say anything about what you were seeing, and she didn't get questioned the way you normally would, because she was hiding behind it, and it was too big. Even when Johnny Depp defended himself, it was taken as, how dare you? Like, you know, this whole movement is like, you just don't do that. Like,
you don't get to. You're a man. You don't get to say anything. Yeah, there was something that Carmen was saying that was like believing victims, and you were kind of you were expounding upon that a little bit and saying that like it's important to believe victims and also investigate things. If you want to help victims, you should be listening to them and asking questions and hearing what they're saying. Believe is almost a misnomer. It's almost like not quite the right word to be using. It's almost like it should be listen to victims. Take what they're saying seriously. Treat it as if it's happened in a way that it will allow you to investigate and deal with whatever the problem is. Because what they were talking about when this was coined was they were talking about how people weren't being believed at all.
Right.
And so you've got the situation. If Johnny Depp is the victim here, he is the one not being believed.
Right.
It's true.
Yeah, well said.
And it's true because of the movement and them saying no one's being heard, we were not allowed to question her story. It was almost like you had no permission to question the story and to even find out if he was a victim, because he's already claimed it. Yeah.
I keep sorry, that's my bad. It's like the smoke screen that's getting put up to say that, hey, listen, believing somebody doesn't mean believe blindly. It doesn't mean believe everything they say. It means listen to them, have the conversation, and take it seriously. And you can't take something seriously that you're not willing to question. If you're not willing to question it, you're not taking it seriously.
Exactly, because Blind
Yeah.
support is biased, and it's not actually support, because if you're
Mm,
biased, that it should negate. It should not be
yes.
counted.
And attacking is not supporting either. If you want to support Amber, attacking Johnny Depp, that's not what support actually is. That's something that people take advantage of and use. If you want to support someone, you go into their comment section, you go to them, and you give them that support. And asking questions can be supportive, because it will, in some cases, it's not every case. There are different situations and times when it's appropriate and times when it's not, and how to go about doing that, particularly if you're close to that person.
Right.
But
either way, you should have that person's total support in doing it. Like, they should have a say in it. Like, you shouldn't be going out there and doing anything against somebody that may have wronged you or whatever without the support, without the permission, I should say, of the person you're supporting. Like, you don't do things in people's name without their actual guidance
explicit,
and making sure it's cool with them explicitly. Right. That's the word. Because that makes it very messy. You know, that's when things start to go awry.
You end up with this situation where it's not beneficial. If you'll notice it's a red flag. If somebody is saying they're a victim of something and they seem to be indicating that thank you guys so much for your support, this person, and they start pointing people in a direction, this is a misdirection. This is a don't look at me, go over there and do that thing, or go, that is a bad person. Don't pay attention to me and what I'm saying. I need you over there. I want you to attack for me. If you're getting that indication from that person, even if they're not, that I'm being very explicit, but if they're not being very explicit about it, they're being a little bit more subtle. You see this on anybody playing the victim when they're not really the victim. If somebody is calling for an attack on someone else, that should be a red flag to you as to why do you need me to do that? If you're going through the proper channels and you're getting a divorce and you want support, sending me to, why do you need me to go attack that person? There's a question there that should be answered.
It's just like, if it is what it is, why do you need me out there trying to help you prove it? Like, if it is what it is, why do you need me out there helping to paint this picture when I wasn't involved? Like, that definitely reads on the sketchy side. Like, if you're building up a little army to try to prove something that should already be obvious.
Does
that make sense?
It's the kind of situation where, like, a situation where it might be reasonable is if somebody's like, I'm not being heard, can you help me be heard? That's still not the same as go and attack this person. It's not like Johnny Depp should be fired from Disney because Amber Heard needs support. Firing Johnny Depp from Disney does not support Amber. It only hurts Johnny.
Exactly.
And on accusations, I mean, no case had been adjudicated at that point. And they were going off of text messages. I would hope they'd vet those, being a reputable journalist. Well, I use that term loosely when we're talking about the Sun.
Disney.
But you know, that whole case. And you know, I was going to ask you guys, what do you guys think about her deposition? They took her depo for, I'm not sure. There are so many cases now. I'm not sure. But do you guys recall seeing her video?
They took her deposition at very much at face value, even though there were things that contradicted it.
Right. And typically, you know, if you have the threat of incriminating yourself, you would plead the fifth. I mean, where it stands now, if she is convicted of, we're a long way away from that if it ever happens, but if she's convicted of fabricating evidence like the makeup, and if it was in fact makeup for her bruises, she could face up to 10 years in federal prison. Never happened, but it, you know, let's just say, because that's a fact, that's what you know, she could face. So
even if she doesn't get the 10 years, it would definitely blow up her counter defamation suit, because now he filed on her, and so she decided to file on him, because she tried first to get the whole thing thrown out just because too much time had passed, but she made the mistake of mentioning the article in something else, and so it gave it a
Right.
longer life, and they were actually able to lose it because he almost lost the whole case just based on timing, because they held each other up
Yeah.
with all this petty paper, I'm going to just call it filings back and forth, like literally over, you can't subpoena this one, and changing lawyers. Like there's got to be at least 47 different pieces of paper just with the lawyers changing, like who's going to talk and who's going to represent.
Yeah.
Like it was insane.
There's also been talk, like I saw a couple of articles just to address, because I think Nick has a point. Nick is saying that it isn't what we're talking about, but it is a tertiary thing. Johnny Depp should be fired from Disney for other reasons. So, interestingly, while I was kind of looking into this just before we started, is I found an article that was suggesting that Disney couldn't afford Johnny Depp anymore, so they used this situation as an excuse to breach contract, like to be able to get rid of him, so they didn't have to do that anymore, because he was getting, his contract was like a $1 million per Pirates movie, and they were grossing $8 million at the point, so 1/8 of the profits from the movie was just directly going to Johnny Depp and Johnny Depp alone. So, but if they're gonna do that, they should do it that way. Then be upfront about it. So there's people that are speculating that getting rid of him there was sort of an excuse.
Right. But I mean, just to give it a little pushback, I totally respect that. It would be nice to have someone who would take the other side of this issue. We're clearly on Johnny Depp's side. However, when Nick said, so to be fired from Disney for drug use and that sort of thing, and not DV, I don't think there's an actor in Hollywood that would have a job, you know?
Yeah, Disney wouldn't be able to hire anyone.
Yeah, but it is Disney, so like they had a
Disney has an image.
You know, they do. But
Exactly.
should he have lost the Pirates contract though? Because that's absolutely appropriate for like all that alcoholism.
There
and all
is
that
a
drug
lot of
use.
drinking in that movie.
Yeah. It actually fits his character, and they would have like that. There's no reason to fire him for that.
He created that character.
Exactly. So like I get it, because well, you know, it's Disney. Like I can understand their point, but
Warner Brothers pissed me off.
Amber Heard in Aquaman, I mean, she shouldn't have been there. I mean,
Warner Brothers pissed me off. At least Disney is in general, they have an image and they want to maintain their image, and if that's the reason they gave, fine. That's their risk assessment that they have to make, and I don't really have a problem with Disney getting rid of Johnny Depp. My issue comes more, I have more of a problem with the idea of losing your job over accusations, which I think is bullshit, which is why, if that's the reason why Disney is getting rid of him, it's still a risk assessment, and they should take the criticism of being like, hey, listen, you can take, you should maybe support the people you have working for you sometimes. But Warner Brothers, on the other hand, can suck a giant dick because Amber admitted to these things, admitted to doing this. There's video evidence of her doing these things.
And they stood behind her.
And she still has her job working with Warner Brothers.
So
and Johnny Depp has accusations, and he got fired. So, now that doesn't mean Warner Brothers shouldn't necessarily fire Johnny Depp. It means that they should also fire Amber Heard.
And that's the point. It's not that we're saying, like, he shouldn't have got fired. We're saying she should get fired, too, because it's an unfair bias in the other direction.
It's equity.
No matter how you look at it.
Yeah, it's about equity.
The whole thing. Yeah. That's it. It's not like I'm saying, oh, let's support Johnny Depp. It's like, no, I'm totally against the bias that is clearly being shown here. It's like a double standard, and double standards go both ways. We've all been fighting the double standard against us over the last 100 years or so. Like, why would we support it happening to anybody else for any other reason? Right. It would make us hypocrites, you know, and I just don't want to be that. So
if you are for rights and for equality, you should be for rights and equality for everybody. So if you're a woman and you think that women need to be supported in this regard, like women need to have more rights here, there, or there, you having more rights should not be taking rights away from anyone.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
if the only way women have rights in this area that is by saying men don't have rights in this area, your argument is garbage and absolutely wrong.
It's an unstable movement, right? So when she uses Me Too, so she can't be questioned, and yet we're not allowed to support him. That it's just a double standard. It just doesn't work. Like Me Too should be him too.
You guys, will you explain the Warner Brothers thing to me? I see, and I can't say it correctly, probably Kiwisa?
Kawasa?
Yeah, Kawasa says that I guess their business decisions and tendencies are very, very backwards and really clueless. Their whole decision making. I'm just curious because I'm not familiar with what they typically do.
Warner Brothers has a really bad habit of supporting somebody and then pulling that support out from kind of like the rug out from underneath their feet. Like and they have a tendency of pushing an actor one way or another, but doing so in a quote unquote amicable way. Warner Brothers, by the way, this is going to be a little side caveat. Warner Brothers Warner Brothers has the rights to all of DC. Anything that's going to be a movie for DC Comics, Warner Brothers has exclusive rights to all of that as of right now, which means anything that's live action, anything that is animated. Their animated department, good job. Their live action department blows ass.
Wow.
So for them to take something like there has been, if I'm remembering correctly from my other streams, speculation also on that part that Grindelwald, the Crimes of Grindelwald, and the Fantastic Beasts franchise wasn't set to make as much money as Aquaman 2. So they could afford, we're back to the Johnny Depp's too good and we can't afford him situation. So here's a good excuse to not have to honor our contract, even though he still is going to get paid for the amount of work he already did on the film. He's just not going to be in the next one. So they get away with not paying him or having to pay to have him for a quote-unquote noble reason as a smokescreen. And then, but they can afford Amber Heard and the money in the movie that they think is going to make more money.
Yeah, so they just did the same thing to him that she did. They like hid behind a movement to make their point when it was seriously only about money and to get away with whatever they were doing. And it's
dirty.
It's dirty. It's shady. It's dirty.
Dirty.
But shady. Unfortunately, that's how that industry is.
There's business works that way sometimes.
Yeah. Surprise me.
Business ethics are dead.
Yeah, totally. Unfortunately, but I think it's always been that way.
Wasted class 101. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to see how you guys feel about talking about, I don't know, defecation?
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a string of things, a line you may say of dribbling along a path of some very bizarre behavior from Amber Heard that you don't see from Johnny Depp. So Karma, do you want to walk us through that?
Yeah, and then because I'm really excited about this, but also after we go down this path, it would be interesting to talk about the psychology behind it, which you brought up the other day when discussing KJ, and perhaps she fits the same personality disorder. You don't know. Why would someone do this? Okay, so I believe it was when Amber Heard was to go to Coachella. No, I'm sorry. I take that back. What it was Johnny had been late to her birthday party. And in a response,
how dare he?
She allegedly, I should say, defecated on his bed. And what she had said happened was that it was the dog that did it, and she just placed it on the bed. But he's, absolutely certain that that's not true. What does that say about somebody? And
who cares which direction it was? That's not the problem.
Still sit on the bed. Like, I don't like. It's still like it's bad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like gross.
What the actual hell? Why?
Disrespect in the highest form. I mean, it's just, what does that say about her? I mean, if it's true and that was her that did it, that's pretty bad.
But that
There's
just opens up a whole bunch of stuff of other stories, like of like the crazy, just the crazy woman who has been scorned, or the crazy woman who, like,
Yeah,
will do all this stuff because you didn't do what she wanted, and it's there's so many stories like that. But
it's like a Lifetime movie.
that's
wasn't a
yeah.
party going on? Like, that's what's blowing my mind. Like, wasn't the birthday party going on, like, in the other part of the apartment, and she just went in the bedroom and did that? Like,
Oh, I
what?
don't know. I don't
Oh,
know. I just know he was
It's
allegedly late.
yeah, it's uncovering hypocrisy it's vindictive. Yes, but it's a level beyond like,
Right.
oh no, the waiter's gonna spit in my cup. Oh
I know.
no,
It's
the disgruntled taco. This is levels of disgruntled Taco Bell employee jizzing into the into the
oh,
mayo.
yeah.
Like that. What are you doing? And this
so
isn't
far.
somebody that you've broken up with. This is your husband.
yeah, it's not like they're broke. That's what's getting me. They're not
That's a
broken
good
up. Like
point.
this,
Yeah.
like it's like they're not separated yet. Like, that's the bed she sleeps in too. Let's not forget. Okay, so she did that to him and her. That's oh, I don't, yeah,
And
that's really
what
horrible.
are you looking to get out of this? Like what is
It's like
why?
Clean
terrorism.
sheets?
It's
I
like
don't
abuse.
know. I don't know.
She must
It's abuse.
assert dominance by shitting where you sleep.
See, that's probably what the psychology is behind
I'm
doing something like
going to
That's
poop on
primal.
your side of the
That's
bed.
so,
I'm gonna
like,
shit in your shoes, and there's nothing you can do about it.
that's so primal. That's like, oh
It
my god.
is
It's like,
primal. It's
oh.
like caveman days. Like what is that? It's bizarre. I don't
And you know
Unless
what?
they have something like that, a kink going on, which is a
Yeah.
different conversation. I mean, if they have a kink going on, that's fine. That's up to them. If they're into
Yeah.
that, you know what? You do you. That's fine. But this does not seem to be the case.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's no consenting.
There is
party.
nothing. I don't know if there's ever been a time outside of like, toddlers or children that do something like this that it's not some kind of cry for attention of some kind, where whether it's like there are children that do this to get attention, and whether they might be like quote unquote justified, like in a child's mind they're justified, so they're being neglected, they don't have what they want this attention from their parents, etc., where they've decided to shit on the floor because it's the only way their parent will pay attention to them. So we've got this situation where you have an adult in Hollywood, so under a lot of pressure in that regard, who has drug abuse problems, whose significant other was late for their birthday, so quote unquote neglected. Everything about this to me screams, pay attention to me. Yeah. I want your attention.
So I think you're right about that too. It's like, I'm in charge. Don't forget, I'm in charge. Crazy.
Definitely. It's blowing my mind, because I'm just trying to think, like, what's the purpose? Like, let's just like,
I mean, it's a good question. We don't know.
I imagine it's a column A and column B. I like the only thing, and again, I wasn't there. I don't know. I don't know this person. It's just kind of assessing the information that I have. But it seems to me a cry for attention and a show of dominance. Because I want your attention and I'm going to do anything to get it, and then you can't stop me. There is nothing you can do about this. It's the same thing as when in the audio of when she hit him and she's like, I didn't hit you, and nobody's going to believe you.
Yeah, and she's like saying it right and doing it, and it's true. Like, they didn't want to believe it. So
okay,
that's primal. I can't get past that. Yeah.
So is it scatology? Question mark. I almost lost it when I read that one.
Yeah, the study of poop.
Phobia. Yeah, I mean, she's, let's say you got that. It shows a lot of anger to me too. I think the dominance argument is it's dominant. It's like showing her dominance, but also anger, and just say you got angry enough or whatever enough to do that. That's, I mean, wouldn't you be embarrassed later? What if you took a picture and like expose what you did? Like it seems so irrational and crazy.
This is the kind of situation where this is somebody who has lost control in some regard.
Yeah.
Whether that's a maturity issue and that's why, or whether it's a stress issue and that's, people do weird things when they're stressed out. People do weird things when they're under a lot of pressure, and whether or not that's justified is a different conversation. But this to me is somebody who has lost control of something. Whether they think that let's say, for example, that I'll take from what we're talking about and say Amber Heard was very controlling over Johnny Depp, and this is a hypothetical. Amber Heard was very controlling over Johnny Depp and their relationship, and she viewed it as a loss of power or a slight towards the power that she and control she had over him and that relationship for him to be late, and this was the response. And the tweak of losing that control and needing to reestablish it in an extreme manner is where it went.
Yeah, exactly. It's Nick says, Chesh, I'm not sure either Depp or Heard have ever been in control. And it's true. I mean, if they're out of control with substances,
depends on what aspect you're talking about. Yeah, that could very well be the case. At the end of the day, I don't have to like Johnny Depp, and I don't have to immediately go, oh yeah, no, Amber Heard is justified or right, or no. Yeah. I could think the guy is the worst actor on the planet. This is an objective conversation. This is not a conversation about, oh, we're fangirls of Johnny Depp and he doesn't need us. We're not helping him.
Right.
We wanted to talk about it because we think it's interesting.
Yeah, we're talking about it because of the bias. We're talking about it because how
there's a different problem.
It's been, and it's a different problem, and it's like reverse sexism almost. It's really not fair.
Someone had
it's just sexism. It's just sexism in the other direction. You can be sexist against a man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, this is a situation where Amber Heard is using which we talked about. She's utilizing the constructs at the time as if, because we talked about that with the police reports, right? So when we were talking before the show, we were saying that I personally thought it was bizarre that she brought up these police reports and then it was shown to not say what she said it did. That to me is a huge thing. Now, if what she said was true and the police report is wrong, you've got a whole different problem on your hands. Why, if that's the case, why is Amber Heard, who is now in a situation where she could expose that in court, not exposing that in court, particularly if her whole goal is advocacy?
Right.
I don't like that. To me, does that everything about that thing in particular is like red flag galore. I'm like, that there's a problem going on here, because she's operating in a system with a mentality that isn't quite the way things are anymore, because things have gotten better and worse. And we're getting there. We're trying to get to a place where victims are taken seriously, victims are believed, the police take these things seriously, because once upon a time they weren't. Once upon a time, if you were a woman and you were being assaulted, nobody believed you or nobody cared. And so we don't live in that world anymore. People care now. And so if you've got a situation where she's a high profile person, this isn't like a random woman in the suburbs. This is a Hollywood movie star saying that the police record is wrong in her assault case. So, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah,
she's not contesting this.
Hear anything about the movement coming forward to fight her with that, to try to get her justice, so to speak, with the police reports, to try to get it corrected or anything.
Like there should be, if it is the case that what she's saying is right, if what she's saying is true, and she stands by that because the police report did not back up what she said, then there ought to be an investigation.
Right.
Or she should be pushing for that, and that's not what's happening. That's not what people are advocating for. They've got torches and pitchforks because Johnny Depp's a man.
actions, not words. And she's proven that it should be actions, not words. Why is she not going after the police department, especially if she feels wronged by them and they did not protect her, or if things were incorrect or whatever it is?
Or if the court's if the court's going to side with her, why isn't the court taking into consideration, or the movement or the people that want to support her, why are they not outraged by this?
Yeah, where's the advocacy?
Yeah.
Like, they should have been on that. They really should have been on that if that's it, unless they really don't see her as that victim being wronged, which would speak even volumes.
Yeah, definitely. This
Bizarre.
Psychotic had brought up earlier, and I didn't know if I should bring it up now because it's a different subject along the same lines, but the Marilyn Manson stuff that has just exploded. I went down this rabbit hole, and
I haven't looked at that yet.
Oh my God. And if you want to do a stream on that at some point, holy crap, I'm like so into this. But they are asking, what do you guys think about the Marilyn Manson situation? And it kind of, well, it's quite different actually, but we're going, among the lines of abuse and gender equality and that sort of thing. Also, Amber Heard, the timing was perfect because the Me Too movement started in 2018 or 2017, around there. So she capitalized on this movement and manipulate. I mean, if she is who we think she is, and these allegations are false, then that's really sick because she's manipulating the public, and she's gained a lot of praise for it. I mean, to be coined the UN human rights activist.
That needs to be revoked from her. That needs to be revoked for multiple reasons, and part of that has nothing to do directly with this case. It has to do with her on video being abusive, her admitting to that abuse, and her not actually being an advocate. She's not doing that thing. That's not a thing she's doing. She didn't donate the money she said she did. She doesn't do anything that's actually any kind of advocacy. Apparently, she's indirectly saying that the police report that took her abuse situation didn't file it properly, and there's not been a peep about that. What are you doing?
Right. No action. What has she done? I mean, she said she donated $7 million. It's going to be a paper trail. She'll have to prove that. And I think it came out that it was like $100,000. I mean, where is her advocacy? I mean, she stands up on a podium and is like, blah, blah, blah. And if you're abused, blah, blah, blah. But is she helping in some capacity besides money and just standing there and blah, blah, blah?
Anybody on YouTube can do that. Anybody with a phone can do that.
Yeah, it's like, what is her?
She's got name recognition.
That's right, exactly.
That's not what that should be about. It shouldn't matter whether or not people recognize who you are. The whole point of that kind of recognition is to actually recognize the people that are doing the work, not somebody who's a face.
Exactly.
Yeah. It should be worth mentioning. I'm just bringing it up because I don't want to ignore it, but I'm not saying this is like an issue. But I think we determined, or it is that Depp is 57, Amber's 34. So we have like 17 years.
There's a severe age gap between them. However, I think when we talked about that in private, we were essentially saying that there is, you could argue that there is that disparagement is causing a power dynamic that is unbalanced. And so there's something that happens when you're, how many years is the part of that? Is that 20?
I think it's like 17
something.
Right? Well, 57 and she's 34. Don't ask me. You guys are the mathematicians over here.
Fuck.
That's 23.
I'm an English major.
Is that? I think that's 23. Yeah, I'll do the calculator. 23. But you said 57.
No, yeah, that's 20.
Yeah, that's 23. Yeah.
That's 23.
Yeah. So if you were to shift 23 years down to her being in her early 20s or her being 18, that's a big problem, because now you've got somebody who's got a well-established career and a shitload of money
Right.
But when you shift it back up, you have a 30-year-old adult. You have a woman who's been in the industry, a woman who's been in relationships, and you have an adult woman making conscious decisions who has money of her own.
Right. It's like a 38-year-old being with a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
If they were younger,
And if you put it now on the other end, let's say you were to shift it the other way and say you've got somebody who's at the end of their 30s and somebody going into their 60s and 70s. Mm-hmm. Now you've got somebody who's younger that may be taking advantage of an older person. So they're in that area where it's in between, where there's not really any excuse for either of them in either way, because he should still be cognizant of the decisions he's making, and she should still be cognizant of the decisions she's making. He's not going to be he's not an elderly sugar daddy. And because at that age also, that can be both. Both people are taking advantage of the other one, but they're both cognizant enough to make that adult decision. There's no power dynamic that isn't either unknown or not consented to.
Right, because they're adults. They're both in the industry. They're both making their own money. It's more of an equal, even though there's that age gap. It was more of an equal playing field than it's first perceived when you just say their ages.
Well, you guys, the Uncovering says she was 24 when they got together. Her brain wasn't even completely developed. And that's true. Until you're 26, your brain is not fully developed. So if that's true, well, you know what? She was 24 when they met on the set of Rum Diary. I guess that was in 2009.
The Rum Diary. Yeah, and that was 2 years before they got married, right?
But they didn't date until, I think, 2011, 2012, something like that. So that is worth mentioning too. That's a good point.
Yeah, so there's an argument to be made that there was perhaps initially a power dynamic in Johnny Depp's favor early on in their relationship, which might lead you to could be an explanation as to why things went the direction they did with Amber, who may be lashing out over the lack of control she feels she has in that relationship, whether it was or was not. You would have to sit down with both of them and have such intense conversations to be able to make that decision. On the other hand, that also doesn't necessarily excuse one behavior or another. A 24-year-old is still an adult. They're still treated as an adult. That doesn't mean you can't. That doesn't mean you can't be taken advantage of. You can get taken advantage of at any point in your life. Your age is irrelevant.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
So it's possible you could swing this either way very easily. It's possible that Johnny Depp took advantage of her being younger and him being better off in the industry to say that, hey, no, be with me and I'll help you out. Or she went the other way and said, oh, this guy's kind of vulnerable and easy to manipulate, so I'm going to use him to further my career. Like this could have easily gone either way in those age groups. It's not until you get under 20 that you start, unless of course you're in the Harvey Weinstein situation where that was literally what the guy did.
Oh my God.
And that was a very, very explicit, and there is nothing to indicate that this was the case with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. You'd think that she would have brought that up. And even if she didn't, you would remember nobody is really standing up for Amber in the industry. People did not stand up for Harvey Weinstein in the industry, or like a very few of them did. So the balance there, and people are standing up for Johnny. So you've got this behavioral consistency between the two of them. And so you're never really going to know if there was some kind of behind or some kind of implication to that. But there's not enough to make any kind of you can't distinguish, right?
It could go either way. She could be taking advantage of a midlife crisis,
or it could be that they're
taking advantage of a younger actress wanting to move up. Exactly.
Which is consensual. If they're both aware of that and they're both doing that, that's consensual.
Exactly.
So you've got two people using each other. Is that shitty? Sure, you could take that stance, or you could say that, hey, no, it's like an arranged marriage. It's totally like it works out for both of us. But then things go south like the way they have, and you just end up with this entire shit show.
I think it's just it's definitely. I can't even. It's contributory either way, only as a factor, because there's so much else psychologically going on and what's wrong in that relationship that
that is a
minor
pocket.
part. That is such a minor part of it for me anyway, when I'm looking at it, with all of the behavior, all of the crazy behavior that happened really didn't have much to do, I think, with the age difference, as to do more in a stability or a sense of security. And and even in some cases an outward defiance against what was going on at the time.
There is this little, they kind of exist in this pocket where both of them were adults, and so there is also something to be said for however your relationship started, even if it was under horrendous circumstances, there are ways to go about doing what you're doing. Defecating on a bed, I don't think is productive.
I'm not really sure that's going to get you what you want, sweetheart.
I can't with the way Amber has been throughout this entire thing. If she thought she could get, whether it was true or not, if she thought she could get away with saying, hey, I was young and Johnny Depp I was young and knew the industry and Johnny Depp took advantage of me, she would say it, and I don't think she thinks she can get away with it.
She's a dick. Just my opinion. Sorry.
You're allowed to have an opinion. There's too many red flags in this situation to be like, at the end of the day, both of them are probably wrong in some way.
For sure.
However,
there's always lies in the middle somewhere, right?
No, that's where I land. They're both wrong. And my only issue with it is the hijacking of a movement and like beating somebody up with it unfairly, and the bias. Like
that's like the biggest
weaponizing,
the biggest thing for me.
Weaponizing victims and weaponizing, and lying about abuse. That's not cool. I don't have to, like I said, I'm not pro Johnny Depp. I'm not necessarily supporting Johnny Depp in this. Do I think the guy deserved to lose his job? No, probably not. But if you have other issues or think he's a shitty person, I don't know him. I can't defend. Maybe you do, and I'm okay with that. I have no problems with this. I just don't, like, if you're gonna lie to me, lie well. And Amber Heard is not lying well.
No.
I know. Nope. Like, at all. And she's an actress. What does that say for her acting? You know?
Not much.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah.
We got about. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just quickly. She had done quite a bit of research on the actual legal documents, and as it stands now, and you tell us, Claire. But
you mean like now, what's going on for January right now?
She's filed a countersuit against Johnny.
Well, she has in the two cases that are going now, because the divorce is all final. So there's the libel case with the son in the UK, and they will be the judge will be hearing arguments on like March of this year, to see if he can even
appeal,
petition for a whole retrial, not even like anything, like he gets a whole retrial if they consider it. But the judge is actually going to judge himself on that. Like, there's not a new judge, it's the original judge. And so I do believe that's biased of itself.
That's a whole different problem.
And in the defamation case over the last like year or so, going back and forth with all the paperwork, just now they did an opinion in January where Amber had tried to get everything thrown out as far as like the timeline for the Washington Post article. Like, if that doesn't exist, there's really not a case for defamation. So she tried to say that was it was too old. Like the time had expanded to where he could file a claim against that. But the judge didn't agree, because they were able to submit evidence that she had actually talked about that article repeatedly as early as late 2019. Moved the timeline up. So they did that. She then tried to get rid of a lot of other things back and forth, and basically, she actually countersued him for defamation.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker: it's because all of this about her not giving truthful uh, deposition about the abuse to begin with, it all came up again because there was like people were talking about it and they thought they had witnesses. So actually, Johnny Depp's lawyer himself did a lot of damage out in the press and gave her a defamation case because there were like 10 statements that were made to the press about her lying or not telling the truth and that it being a hoax. And 9 of those statements were from the lawyer, not Johnny Depp.
So
Johnny
how does
Depp
that
only has one listed.
Yeah, so how does that work for the countersuit? That because it sounds to me like that wouldn't work as a countersuit against Johnny, but it would work as a whole new suit against that lawyer.
No, it's actually in this. He's now listed as the plaintiff in this, and it's the same judge. Like, it's weird. Like,
that
does
is
not look like a
strange.
separate case.
Yeah, that is bizarre.
Because I did see
about it are the same case numbers. So, like, how does that? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, we might have to talk to Intrigued Feline, because Intrigued Feline is actually in that part of the world, and they're actually pretty well versed. They've actually spent a lot of time studying United States law in regards to the Non Sequitur show, so she might be able to.
Like, the opinion that they gave was from the same case number as him answering as the plaintiff for the defamation that she just countered, because they did it under a demur. Like, you might know what that is, Karma, more than I do, but it all came as one of the parts of another filing she did to try to take away some of his other filings that he was saying about her and make them like mute, like just get them to like throw them out completely. And it was buried in there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious as to how much Johnny Depp can be held responsible for his lawyer fucking up. And so, I mean, he is he's his employee, quote unquote. So how responsible is he for his lawyer's actions when the whole point you hire a lawyer is so that this kind of whatever they are doing is okay? So does Johnny Depp get countersued, pay, and then sue the lawyers? Like, does he end up just suing the firm? Is that what ends up? I don't. The answer is I don't know, and that probably just depends.
He might have to countersue his own lawyers because every claim in here, and this is the opinion from the court. This isn't even any of the filings. This is after they do the filing and they're asking the court to do something, and the court actually lists those statements as Mr. Depp saying it through his attorney. Like, they're not giving him any. Yeah, they're not giving that. They're not giving him any leeway. They're saying, no, you either directed him or it's part of your plan. And
I mean, I get that they want to frame it that way. It's just whether or not they're going to get away with framing it that way. Like, that makes sense when you're going to present a case. It's the question is how are the lawyers going to respond to this? Are they going to be like, no, I was doing this by myself. This wasn't my client. I wasn't directed. My client actually asked me. They would have messages to say, hey, is this a good idea?
And that was all part of the filing chest before the opinion came out. That's all part of the filing. When she says, oh, I want to say this and I want to file against him for this during this in this process of the court case we're already in. And then he countered it with all of that you just said, that he didn't do it. And yet the court came back with this opinion that says, no, Mr. Depp, he said it, Mr. Depp through his attorney said this. Like, the court is
the court said that.
The court said that. I'm looking at the opinion. Yeah, the January 4th opinion. Those were the words of the court. They gave there were 10 statements. They said Johnny Depp said one, and they allowed the defamation suit to go forward on January 4th. And so
under
the last thing
to say that, that's so bizarre to me.
Johnny Depp he filed an answer to the plea for the defamation case for himself as a plaintiff in his own case. I mean, as the defendant in his own case as the plaintiff. It's like really weird. He's got to answer her as a plaintiff, as a defendant, even though he's the plaintiff. It's like bizarre when you read it.
I mean, when you get into lawyers and stuff being witnesses or having their own cases again, or having their past client, being having a suit against the attorney. I mean, this is weird. Plus, it's in the UK, so I'm not familiar. But as I understand it, demur they're saying that it's not a good argument. I mean,
right. And they threw all that out, but they left the defamation. So now he has to answer plaintiff
okay.
and counterclaim defendant. Johnny Depp has to answer this he is the counterclaim defendant, and he's got like a 50-page thing here from January 22nd, and now they're going to start hearing arguments in May of 2021.
I guess, yeah, allowing it to go through so they can subpoena more of Johnny Depp's or more of Amber Heard's or more of the lawyers' communications might end up being the ultimate goal here. So there could be more going on with the judge in thinking that, hey, you know what, I'm not agreeing with this, but they can make that same argument in court. I would rather you make it in court rather than me dismissing it before it's gone, sort of thing.
Exactly. And they must have subpoenaed at least 8 or 9 people right after that. Like all the subpoenas were issued like right after this hit. And then they just came up with this court date that'll like be in May. But I'm sure. And then at the same time, there's like 20 pieces of paper in there about like all these little tiny bills about every time something gets filed. Like they really are at each other. Like I was saying that before, like it's getting kind of petty because like a $600 bill because they had to answer some questions and they petitioned the court for it to get paid by the other party. And it's going back and forth like every other day. You know, with this kind of, it's getting really ridiculous.
Well, in the criminal stuff, I mean, she's going to be screwed, in my opinion, because she's already admitted to assaulting him. So if those charges are brought, I mean, she'd probably get probation. Let's be honest.
There is an unfair advantage that women have in that regard currently. Yes, if a woman assaults a man, they will get less of a sentence. Most of the time.
She got a TRO during the divorce. Like she got the TRO right when she filed for divorce because of that 911 phone call 2 days before. She got an immediate TRO on him, like right away, like for that. So. Like, I'm wondering how much of this all comes back in. And right now, it just looks like a bunch of spite on both sides. As far as legally, it's definitely a forest full of trees. And
it's messy.
It's definitely
messy. Judges are used to this, though, you guys. I mean, they are good at spotting the cycle of abuse and spotting, you know, the perpetrator typically, you know, filing first. They see this stuff all the time. So hopefully,
the judge is not new.
How much abuse can they actually bring into it? Because now they're just arguing about defamation. They're just arguing about the words. Like they're not even saying.
Well, but if it happened, but if the abuse happened, or if the abuse did not happen, then that's defamation. That's all. They have to prove whether it happened or not, because defamation is saying something that's untrue. So if you prove that it's true, then
so as soon as witnesses come forward on, like, say they come forward for Johnny Depp and they say this abuse didn't happen because like we were there and we witnessed this and she's lying. Like say that happens, right? Then her defamation suit is like over with. Like that's just done. Like right there. And that's probably very smart on the court. That's why they're keeping it all together. That's probably why it's not 2 separate suits at this point with different case numbers on it, because it directly relates to the validity. As soon as something else happens, this all goes away.
It's one of those situations where sometimes the judge knows more about the law than people like we do, or even the people who are in court know. So there could be a very, very good reason why, when I was reading the UK case and being like, why did all of this just get ignored? It might be because the judge is already 3 or 4 steps ahead, saying like, listen, this could be appealed by Amber in this way, so I'm going to reject it right now, so that way when you appeal, I can then justify bringing it in because it was out of time or something like that, as well as listing some other reasons, just like whatever reasons I can think of, this is what I'm putting down. We had a question in the chat. It's from my mom. Hi, Mom.
Oh, is it really?
She's asking if Amber Heard admitted it, why wasn't she charged? And so that it kind of depends on what you mean by charged. If you mean by the court, I don't know. That becomes a different issue. If you mean by Johnny, because sometimes victims don't call the police.
Or this is back. Would it be because that's back in 2016 and he can't file against her now for that? Like
I don't know what the statute is, but we should look that up. I mean, look that up.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. I'm definitely going to look that up. That's Because why doesn't he go back if she admitted it and get a police report and say, I told you this happened and here it is, she's admitting it, I want to file a charge on her. Like,
yeah, no, that's I don't know.
Or guaranteeing 5 years would go up. Oh, up by 4 years. Wait, hold on.
We're learning.
Well, and it depends on the
state and where it was when it took place, right? So she's asking by the court or by the police. Why wouldn't now that she's admitted to doing this thing, why wouldn't the police charge her? Or why wouldn't the court automatically?
I really do, because she did it. She did admit it, and she admitted it in a video deposition.
But that was part of the deposition in the UK. Not the U.S. one, though, right? If I remember correctly.
It doesn't matter. It can be used here.
It could be used. Yeah, absolutely. An admission is an admission. But she would have to get charged here, and they might not be at that part yet. Whereas in the UK, it would have been kind of they wouldn't really be able to do anything about it. Out of their jurisdiction, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. To figure that one out.
And because, keep in mind that Amber wasn't the one, wasn't directly part of the one in the UK, that was against the newspaper tabloid.
Exactly, that was against the Sun, and
that's a really good question, and the answer is that they might just not have done it yet. They just might not be at that part of the lawsuit, because I imagine that if something that gets said while court is going on, that would get put on hold. So just because the year has rolled over, that would not count against the timeout period.
Yeah. Could be.
So it'd be put on pause. So I don't know, and we might see that, but we should probably start wrapping up and get some last words. That's a really good question, and we have to keep our eyes out for that. And I'm sure that we inevitably come back to talk about this when there's more to talk about, because there's lots of stuff that we didn't talk about, like kind of the dynamics of their relationship and the psychology behind that, which we can get to another time, but we are about at the 2-hour mark.
Wow,
even though we split.
Yeah,
it was 2 hours.
Yeah.
Even though it got split, and I'm sorry that it got split. I might try and re-upload this. I just leave it as 2 parts and just label it 1 and 2, and with a oops inside of it. So
make it easy on yourself. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
You guys have any last words?
I would just thanks for having us, first of all, and I mean, you guys, I couldn't have sat here with girls that are more bright, and it's true. I mean, I'm just happy to be in your presence when it comes to this stuff. I mean, really, it's true, and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Your mom had a great question. Want to find out the answer, and it would be cool in the future on whatever channel if we could talk about this Marilyn Manson stuff. So look at that, Chesh and Claire, because it is crazy. So thanks for having me, Claire.
No. How am I supposed to follow that? Like all that gushy stuff. Like there's nothing left to say nice about you guys, except for I really enjoyed myself. It was the 2 hours went fast. I look forward to more interesting and hopefully interesting for the chat conversations wherever we are, here or over by you, Karma, or over by me. I look forward to continuing it, and Marilyn Manson seems like a great adjunct to that conversation, because that's new. That's just happening now, so that's cool. So thank you very much, Cheshire, for hosting us here.
So thank both of you for coming so much. We got a super chat from Kawasa for 10 that said, "I'm sorry, I can't get over this image of a beautiful red-haired Mara from Aquaman squatting on somebody's bed and taking a dump. It's stuck in my head." All right, so I'll get to work on the art of that.
The art for that, that's perfect.
That's your next project.
I'll get to work on that when I get off of here. I appreciate both of you for coming. This was really great. You were able to add a ton to the conversation. I look forward to the next topic, which may be Marilyn Manson. If we might want to give it a couple weeks and see where it goes before we start commenting too much. Or you kind of get a little bit of column A and column B, right? So, we'll take a look at it and see what's up. And I look forward to having you both back again at some point for whatever topic we end up talking about. And guys, look forward to a little bit of a change to the that time of the month format, because I think we're going to start shifting it a little bit more in this direction. So there's kind of like women talking about things from their perspective that they feel is important. It'll be a little hangouty. It'll be a little bit structured about whatever topic it is. I'm sure some of them will just be freeform where we talk about whatever. But I kind of noticed that there's a gap in having women speaking about these kinds of things in our community and in other communities. So I want to bring more of that and let people kind of come in and out. So if you have a topic or you have something you really want to talk about that you care about, let me know. And I would love to have people who are on and interested in having these conversations. So reach out, leave me a comment, like, subscribe if you want more, hit the bell, and that's everything. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, all.
Bye, kids.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.